So, good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the third edition of DEI Dialogues 2026, presented by Sarthak Educational Trust. I am Nishta Tripathi, Program Leader India at Sarthak, and I'm delighted to be moderating today's conversation. Our larger theme is conversations that move inclusion from awareness to action, as we all are working in DEI space for at least 7 to 10 years now. So most of us are aware, but now it comes to take action. Many of us are taking actions as well, but taking action at the next level is what is required. And today we are asking a very practical question. How do we move from hiring persons with disabilities to building careers for them? At Sarthak, we've been working in disability inclusion for nearly 2 decades, and we have seen the conversation evolve. Earlier, it was more like the persons with disability can work, give them an opportunity. And today, organizations across sectors are mapping jobs. Jobs are mapped, jobs are identified, roles are identified, hiring pipelines are built, and people are readily bringing persons with disability in their workforce. So, in many ways, the door is opening. But here's a question, that is, what happens after the door opens? Is the person simply doing a job, or do they feel they belong? Are they learning? Are they getting opportunities? Are they being considered for the next role? And ultimately, can they see a career here? Because perhaps the next measure of inclusion is not just how many PwDs have we hired, but how many are growing, progressing, and leading along with the organization. And that's the conversation we want to have today with people who are actually making these decisions and shaping workplaces every day. So let's get started. Before we dive in, let me introduce the wonderful people who are joining me for today's conversation. We have a great mix of HR leaders from retail, hospitality, and e-commerce. And I think that diversity of experience will make today's discussion particularly interesting. So let me start with Mr. Nitin Mishra, Manager HRBP at Vishal Megamart. Nitin brings around 7 years of experience across retail HR with a strong focus on HRBP, employee relations, manpower planning, talent acquisition, and performance management. Nitin, it's wonderful to have you with us. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you for the giving me such opportunity to have interest in our first time to face interactions. So basically, if we talk about the Sarthak education, from the last 1 decade, we have been the participated with it, right? So Sarthak has basically helping a lot to us, even in terms of this program when this CEO has started now. So basically, this program, what we are calling as not a PWD, we have been nominated as the program which is called as a Udbhav. So Udbhav, we can say here, just a program to take an initiative to have an inclusion path for all, every, this person with a disability, we can say. So Udbhav, we have started to give the, entry level opportunities, entry level opportunity to everyone to create an equal employment to everyone. So basically, we have quarantined in only one format we called as Udbhav. And in this program, we are not only hiring the peoples, the purpose is what to develop them for the next roles and responsibilities what we are having in these organizations and make them as an accountable and responsible person for that. Even. So basically, this overall agenda in the program is to not only on focusing on hiring. So here we like we just wanted to have that part. Even if we talk about current Udbhav, the strength, which is very good numbers we are having right now, is reaching out 1,000 and plus numbers now we're having. And within this, that we also can say that we have a managerial role also. So we not even hire the people for the hiring perspective. We have develop them into now in terms of the leaders, bestowed leadership role. So our focus is only for the football program here. I think the first things which you've been said for this hiring. So how we need to just maintain the hiring strategy at the stores level. That is the major agenda. I hope so. The store and the current Sarthak participating now we've been following, right? So the hiring strategy, it's not like a one way communications, we can say, to only hiring the numbers from a one side that NGOs or the agencies are giving you numbers and you only the onboarding the people at the store level. I don't think so that it helps a lot to have that understood, because first of all, Udbhav, we need to understand they are they require some training. And training, what exactly that we can understand, because now in a retail industry, we've been focusing on the experienced people, whether this, the customer expectation is getting higher nowadays in the retail. So we need to think like in the both perspectives. So somehow this hiring strategy for any of the, Udbhav or the person with a disability should start before a 1 month. So 1 month means they need to understand what basic requirement for the retail industry, how the customers deal with the situations, right? So basically, we can say that like a 1 year, 1 month program, and then it doesn't mean like from day one they have to be a inclusive as a actual workers or employees of working. We also need to understand once they onboarded in the systems, their team and the management also should be trained and also must be trained how we need to deal with the situation there, right? So we have to be participate in both the segment. So training is not like a one-way program; it's a training like a two-way program here. So training is for the Udbhav. This is obviously it's a mandatory, and training is for the existing, the team who's been working at the store level also very important. So once because they need to understand the expectations, they need to understand how we need to deal with the situation. Because somehow we can say here, being as a manager, sometimes the people will think maybe their intention was not wrong, but they are not going to explain things in a proper way and a proper communications channel through this, persons itself, right? So majorly, I would also appreciate that, Sarthak has given us a good opportunities to the people with the 700 plus candidate who has been already trained there, right? So now we are getting people who have been already trained. So this is the first things which is very important before an onboarding. Second, we need to understand at the store level, at every store's level, we must have a HR buddy. We must have a the trained man force like at the stores level, who at least a one person contact where any the candidates or any employee, like basically with respect to the person with the disability, they can reach out to us and they can understand what exactly their expectation was, right? So this is very, very important. So this persons must be trained with the agency, the person with the trained with this organizations, so that it deal with the situations very flawlessly, right? So this is the second things. The third is very important part. We talk about, hiring again. I'm saying hiring is just a number, because if we got any target, like organization given a target, you hired 1,000 people, you hired 2,000 people, that doesn't make a sense. The main actual scenario when it will come, how many of these hirings to be developed for the next role, how many these employees have set up for their roles and responsibilities for the next role. So basically the phenomena is what saying it is the socially how they are growing, the financially how they are growing, and how they are establishing in the stores operations with these expectations of the retail industry. That is very important. So somehow the situation in the last is very, very important in terms of hiring, to groom them for the next level, how they can achieve their basically desire, or somehow you can say this organization expectations here. So from my side, so onboarding is very, very important. Yes, there's a strategically we can say it correlated with the business as well. I'm not saying that only hiring the numbers and they are making the uh, useless things at a store level, only the numbers, and we are not getting any results there. So it should be with relate with your business objective here. So business objective comes when the people will be trained, people will be developed, and in that initial stage, they are getting all the things at the store sites, at the employer side, at the NGO side, how they can get it trained. So somehow this is all about from this onboarding strategy, like the situations what exactly that we are following from Vishal Megamart side.
Thank you, Nitin. You have rightly set the context of the complete webinar session of today, that it involves hiring, training, engagement, team dynamics, and ultimately the growth. All the facets must be touched. It's not it's not a core lab experiment wherein two variables are interacting and rest of the things would be in control. It is a dynamic situation and everything keeps on coming. So we need to keep everything in mind when we are working in this ecosystem.
Yeah,
Next, we have, thank you, Nitin. Next, we
thank you.
have Miss Polami Bhattacharya. She is Director People and Culture at Pullman and Novotel Hotels, Accor Group. Polami brings an impressive 26 plus years of experience across leading hospitality organizations, including Oberoi, Taj, Starwood, Marriott, IHG, and Accor. You think of it, and she has already worked there with a deep focus on people development, learning, and culture. Polami, we are really very happy to have you with us today. A very warm welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. I think Sarthak for me has been, I've seen you guys since when Dr. Agarwal had just started off the entire thing. So very early days with just 2 or 3 people with him in the team. So that is Sarthak for me, right? And just like we were discussing when we started with the conversation today before the session started, uh, DNI, the entire piece came to me like a gift packaged, I would say, right? Something I always wanted to do. You'll find it very funny, but then I remember my first campus interview, and the interviewer had asked me a question that something, what is it that you wanted to do? And I had said a lot about charity and the kind of work people really wouldn't really think about working in hotels. And she smiled and she smirked and she said, so you should be doing CSR and you should be joining an organization, an NGO who's actually going to cater to your thought process. This is not the right place because hotellery is all about a lot of shusha, a lot of glitz and glamour. You just don't fit in here. And did I get the job? Yes, I did get the job, right? But I never thought I would get, because where was glitz and glamour, and where on the other side was something that was there in the bottom of my heart to do something for people who needed people the most. And I think as managers, as I grew up the ladder and after becoming a manager, even so, I think I realized that, you know, all that people need is someone to talk to,
Yeah.
a little guidance, a little mentoring, and that's what matters. Whether it's in the job front or whether it is in the personal space, when people get that opportunity to learn from someone who's already crossed that path, that really helps, right? And exactly in the same way DNI came to me, right? Of course, here we say diversity and inclusion, and that is the term that we use here at Accor. But I think I feel they're special people, right? Specially able, right? And they can do much more and beyond than what we can do, right? I never heard about an Olympics earlier in my life. We only knew about Olympics, but Olympics was something, a new dimension to the entire scenario of this particular team members. At our core, we do not call our employees as employees or staff or associates, but we call them as artists. So everyone has got a heart, and each and every human being is an artist. And these artists put their heart at the center of everything that they do. And that is where this terminology was coined, and we call all our people as our artists. So I'm also an artist. So everyone is an artist. It's not you're a supervisor, you're a manager, or you're a staff. Everyone, from the one at the bottom to the topmost layer, are all artists. That's how we treat people. Now, the DNI artists, that's how we call them at this property. Uh, when I started about 4 years back in this organization, we had only 14 of them. Again, going back to where Nitin started, that it's not just about hiring them, but what more do we do? I think I was blessed by a general manager, and this was a discussion I had in my interview session, right? So he said, "So what do you do about CSR activities?" This that typical HR question, right? And my boss, my would-be boss, then asked me this question, and I told him, I said, you know what, my heart cries out for these people, but at the same time, I don't want to show them that I'm weak in front of them, but I want people to understand that if they need a mother in the organization, they have called me. And trust me, I followed that. And the number just went on increasing. There was a lot of opposition where people said, no, we can't hire them because, they can't do extra manning they do. That was the favorite line of my leaders who said, no, you give us additional. If a department had to have 45 people, they said, give us 50. Then those 5 we will take as your artists, your DNI artists, we will take, no problem. And they were all termed from day one, you are artists. So DNI means straight away everyone looks up, okay, Paul. A question a few days back, I'll give you an example. There was something that came up in one of the leaders' emails, and that really did not need anything much of my inputs. It was more structural and design element. But the whole piece was given to me. That okay, polyamine will do. Why? Because it was written DNI. The moment DEI comes into the picture, I'm straight away tagged. Do I hate it? No, I love it. But most of the times, the reason I'm saying it's a very blurred vision that we have between what is required. Everyone is not same. Someone might not be talking. Someone might be able to hear but can't talk. Some can talk a little bit, right? Some come with Down syndrome. Some come with vision impairment. There's so many kinds. But the first thing that in any industry that you hear when you're taking specially able people is people who are mute, right? Now, that entire paradigm shift that I had to create here, right? And I would go bizarre and I would say, no, I want to do it. And I'm a very ziddy kind of a person. If I say I have to do, means I have to do, right? Whatever said and done, I need to do it, right? And I'll go, whatever it takes to do that, to achieve it. And people know me now for it. So I said, no, I want to get people, and then your Gurgaon center opened, Sarthak Center at Gurgaon opened, right? And there was an Accord tie-up with Sarthak and Accord. And my corporate HR head said, Palmi, why don't you go and meet the Sarthak team? I said, oh, I'm already working with Sarthak. She said, oh, really? I said, yeah, I've been working with them for like so many years now. So my corporate HR head, he said, okay, why don't you come and visit this place? It seems they've done a lot of new things. Why don't you go and see? I said, okay, I went, I saw the place. And I came to know about the visually impaired people that you have, right? And I was so fascinated when I came, I saw the room, dark room, and I went through that journey in that darkness, the light rather, right? Before entering, I was very worried that will I be able to get in, do what? I was so encouraged when I went back. I said, I'm now going to change my thought process. I need to have people who are not able to see. And life is just not easy. It's not easy for anyone. We, with everything 100% normalcy, we feel we have challenges, but the people who have got one organ which is not functioning the way it should, they're much more challenged than any one of us. You look at them and then you realize you have no problems in life. Come on. Life is so easy peasy. And this is one thought that I've been trying to instill amongst all my managers. See, we do the onboarding part and we put them into the shop floor. Onboarding tak, it's honeymoon. It's fantastic. No problem. You have an interpreter who's coming, we are doing, my entire people and culture team, my HR team rather, is all there, gaga to do everything. It's all nice. It's all hunky-dory. The challenge, the main question comes when they actually start going to the departments. Three big things that happen there. First is everyone starts sympathizing. How much ever you tell them, you prepare them, we have these sessions for sign language, for mentally preparing people to be able to work with the teams. But the moment it is, oh, DNI means, अच्छा इनसे तो नहीं होगा, ये तो पॉलिमी मैडम का CSR है. People, that's how they quote, कि पॉलिमी मैडम का CSR है. I said, 1 minute, hold on. Okay, it's not a CSR. You have to include them, and that's all about DNI. Do you even know what's DNI? It's so easy to say DNI, but what is I? It's inclusivity. How are you including them? First problem, sympathy. And half the problem start there and end there. Because I'm so sympathetic as a manager, I feel, oh, either I will not include them in anything, or if I happen to include them, then I'll have all that they are in the world. They can come late, they can go early, I will not give them night shift, I will not give them this, that. Okay, they should be going for all. Even as leaders, we become super protective. Now, that's the challenge, Nishta. These three things, sympathy, letting go and treating them specially, right? And third thing is ignoring their capability completely and saying, "Arey, inse to kuch hoga hi nahi. Ye to Pauline madam ka CSR hai." These three things, the moment we are able to come out of it and we start treating them as just another one, that's where I think that will be that win-win situation. I try, but do you think that in an organization with 850 people in just my hotel, do you think I can change everyone's mindset? No, they come to me, the DNI artists, they come to me and they complain and they say, Madam, they did this, they'll write, they'll explain, we get the interpreter online, and we do all of that. But somewhere, the real way of working does not happen. Because someone or the other in the team will feel, नहीं यार इनसे तो होगा नहीं, or they'll feel नहीं चलो कोई नहीं लेट आ रहा है आने दो CSR, right? Now we need to get out of that phlegma rule, right? And I think it's more like a dichotomy where you need to understand how do you make this entire thing work. It's like a puzzle. How do you make that puzzle get into, how does the pieces of the puzzle fit into the grid? That's very, very important. Until such time we don't do, and it is not a 1%, 2% activity. I still remember my ex-general manager of this hotel. He would always tell me that, call me no sympathy with them. I said, no, I don't have any sympathy with them. I'm sorry, they need to be. And that's where we started coming up with growing the people. So we started looking out at them as into the next role. We started promoting amongst them. But there also my manager came and said, ma'am, this is extra position. I said, why? You have 10 people in your one outlet. You need someone to manage them also. Look at that way. Madam, 10 लोग के लिए अगर एक supervisor ले लिया तब तो हो गया. And this has been very, very difficult, Nishta, to put this into place. But are we there? No. From 14 artists with, with special challenges, I am now at 35 in a span of 3.5 years. 3 years, I'll say. Right? Now, I don't know, have I reached there? No. I think we're far away from what I really aspire to see these people into. And there's so many social stigmas, even, the candidates, my artists, those who cannot speak or with any of these challenges, they also don't want to do that additional bit because they've also got used to the fact and idea that it is acceptable and it is okay to be treated specially. They don't want to take up that additional responsibility.
Very rightly said. Yeah.
Right? And, that probably should start right at the beginning of their college, the school, their college, and then at Sarthak or any other organization. It should start during their education period that you are not different. Until such time, we cannot treat them together just like us. They will never come at par. It's like, there was once upon a time scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, they would be always put low and down. Right? There are times when I get that feel that like there was a reservation and we got it. Now with 2% of your manning or 3% of your manning, how many will you really take? And, unfortunately, as human beings, till something is not a mandate, we don't do it.
Palami, I'm really glad that you're so vocal about the real challenges. That still there is that mindset, and that is very dominant. That how to go about it, they won't be able to work. And if the organizations are working in this sector for say 15, 20 years and uncomfortable with hiring, then the judgment moves to the aspiration ladder that they don't have any aspiration, they are fine where they are. Let it be from within the PwD workforce themselves, or let it be the managers or the subordinates or colleagues. These are the basic psychological underpinnings that we'll talk about in today's session. I also would like to welcome Mr. Ravi Shankar Venkata Basavaraju. He is Retail HR Head at VMart, and he brings over 20 years of experience in scaling distributed workforces, driving AI-powered HR transformation, and building strong talent management and learning and development ecosystems. Ravi, we are delighted to have your experience and perspective in today's conversation. Very warm welcome to you as well.
Thank you, Nishta. Happy to be here. In fact, I joined in a little late, but I was hearing Polomi speak and it resonates really well. I think my journey in this uh, working with especially abled is about a decade old now. I think Sarthak has been a part of a scheme of things even in my previous organization where we had a lot of interaction uh, with you guys, and it continues here in my new organization as well. Um, well, see, the question here is that how do we make inclusion an everyday thing rather than just at an awareness level? And I think all of the speakers before me spoke touched upon this a little bit. What I have experienced in the last few years is that what is important is how do we look beyond just numbers being there, beyond tokenisms, and how do we create a meaningful career for our PWD colleagues in the organization. So where I have seen success is, starting right even before we start taking on targeted numbers and so on, which are the but what's important is that we do a good job role analysis, which not only includes which roles in our organization and what kind of abilities can fit in there, and also the fact that how can people who join into these roles be at the same level as the others there in the organization, can grow within the organization. I would say, even I was just looking at the numbers this morning before, when I was preparing for this. We've seen numbers grow within the organization over the last few years, and that's what gives us the belief that we are on the right track. I've seen people in the last few years who've joined VMart have not stayed there in the same role, but they have in fact grown into leadership positions. In fact, we also have store managers who have grown into this role. So it just reaffirms my belief that we need to create meaningful careers and, of course, give them the same standard as the others. So, like Palomi was also mentioning, most of the managers tend to live in the extremes. Either they are too lenient, they are too afraid to speak up and enforce the requirements for the role, or they are too harsh so that they clear the way and get someone else into the place. This in the last 10 years, what I've seen is relentless sensitization sessions are what is required. How do you give feedback? How do you enforce the performance standards of the role, and without going into the extremes, just like you would do to any other colleague? How do you do that? So that, I believe, is something that needs to keep going on, and it's something that is, I'm sure the when I speak to the PWD colleagues, they also appreciate the fact that they're treated equally, and they're not looked upon as somebody, just like what Polumi mentioned. This is a CSR candidate. No, where they feel really good when they are treated at par. Their performance is tagged along with all the others in the store. That's where they also feel good about it. So that is, to me, that is what we need to crack to be able to really give meaningful careers.
Thank you, Ravi, for sharing your thought on this. And as you have rightly said, that managers are on extreme scales. Either they are very lenient or they are completely in a no scenario that we won't be able to have somebody with disability in our team. And that's why we need sensitization session. Actually, the challenge lies in understanding about disability. There are 21 disabilities in total, and most of us, if we will be asked to name, we'll be able to name just 4 or 5, and thereafter we get confused. What is the difference between ADHD and ASD, and what is the specific learning disability? And when we are not aware about something, we tend to avoid that scenario, because otherwise we look
True.
foolish that this person doesn't know how to go about it, and we are also afraid that something may go wrong. So let's better avoid this track. So that's why
True.
managers or the other colleagues or teammates adopt that approach. And the probable solution and the go to solution is, of course, sensitization workshops and touching upon every possible aspect, that what is disability, what is the line of difference. It's not that they are going to, and in terms of functional abilities, not in technical definition, Because as and when we look forward to disabilities, we get into technical definition. And it takes somebody with a medical background to understand the line of difference, uh, 3 years or 4 years to understand those disabilities and in detail. So it's not practically possible to infuse that understanding in 45 or 60-minute session. So we need to look at those disability from a functional lens. And
True.
we are doing such workshops with different corporate houses readily, and that is the plan to make a positive impact in the overall ecosystem.
And Nishta, I think time to time we should also relook at how we are doing the job analysis for our
Yes.
PWD candidates. Like you mentioned, there are different types of disabilities which are there, challenges which are there, and we need to be able to map what kind of ability works in which kind of a role
Yeah.
in any organization. So
Yeah.
I understand retail really well, so we know what kind of, and it changes from organization to organization, right? So I think that is where we make a good start there. The journey would be far more simpler.
Yes, very rightly said. Next, I would also like to welcome Mr. Deepak Bhosle. He is lead HRBP from Big Basket, and he is into HR domain since last 14 years. And during these years, he has worked with Walmart, Metro, Reliance, Aditya Birla Group, All Cargo Group, and have handled all these Upper North India during his complete tenure. Welcome, Deepak.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much, Nissa. And thank you everyone for putting up your thoughts. And I'm pretty much aligned with the thoughts of Palmi ma'am, Ravi sir, and Nitin also. Uh, uh, if I specifically talk about Big Basket, we being a part of Tata Group, we are keenly focusing on this such initiatives also, right? So overall, if larger way I talk about, we are having around I say more than 2,000 differentially able employee. Sorry for marking this word differentially able. I would rather say especially able employees. For us, DNI is not limited to the people with disability. Even we have started including the other DNI initiatives also, be it the uh, people with disability, the uh, uh, talent from let's say LGBT kind of employees also. We are started indulging them also into DNI initiatives. Since e-com is a quite emerging industry and a lot of scope is there for them also. Uh, I would take an example of Flipkart. They are doing a fantabulous job into this field. They have many warehouses completely run by the DNI peoples. They have some facilities which are completely run by, let's say, uh, they have a specific facility for transgenders. They have a specific facilities for DNI. Even talking about us also, we are also thinking in same page. We also want to create such kind of uh, uh, opportunity for these people. So from organizational perspective, our company is very keen for uh, generating the opportunities for these people. Yes, for as well as the opportunity, we are facing some challenges also when we are dealing into DNI case. The first and foremost, what Pallavi has also mentioned, is the stigma basically. Whenever a leader has to deal with the DNI piece, there is a stigma that I would not be able to communicate with them. Let's avoid them. So this is the first. Another one is communication is one. Another one is people are in a phase that they won't be able to work, right? So although we do have certain things in place, we have interpreters, we have our in-house training team also who are indulged into training them, but still up to certain extent we are facing such challenges. Another challenge is, as of now, though we have already started hiring PWD employees, but still it is limited to the entry level jobs. So when it comes that let's hire a PWD, the entry level jobs comes into the picture. Let's hire them as a picker, let's hire them as a loader, such kind of opportunity. Whereas But as a person, I think so. The field should not be limited to to entry level jobs only. They should be hired as an let's say the data entry operator. Here, uh, our job is there, be it Sarthak, be it Tata, be it VMR. We need to create such kind of opportunity that they should uh, get the exposure of such kind of jobs. We need to create such kind of work atmosphere or the training center. Basically, there are certain jobs like, for example, data entry operator. This can be handled by them also, but for this we need to create the infrastructure basically. uh, I am not very much sure that how many of the NGOs or education centers are working in this field, but I think this can be an opportunity area for us. So, uh, just limiting ourselves towards the entry level job, let's open the field for them so that they can also do the managerial job also. That doesn't mean that they are not currently working into managerial job also. I do have certain managers also. For example, for my company, there's a critical department which is an inventory control department, and my in my region only the inventory control manager is a differential level guy, and out of his team I think four or five are the differentially able team. So opportunity, we need to create the opportunities for them also.
Thank you, Deepak, for your thoughts. That leads me to the question that we all are unanimously thinking that entry level job should not be the restricting point. More jobs should be readily mapped. And they should also get the same opportunity to move along the career ladder. It should not be like a job, but a career in totality. So, with that thought, Paulomi, I'll come back to you and would like to ask what is the barrier? What do you think is the barrier that is sort of checking us and we are not able to achieve that in a full zeal as we would like to?
I think the biggest challenge is when you do not have enough support from your management, because that's where it all begins. We are HR, we are people's person, right? We are more people oriented in nature than task oriented, right? Until and unless you get 100% support, right, you can't do it. I'll give a simple example. As in my current leader, he he be the first one to go ahead and do? Probably he will do as much as he can, but will he stop me? No, he will push me ahead, right? He was the person who gave me that zeal and that push to hire a girl who cannot see. There was tremendous amount. It took me a year from the time I first decided till the time I implemented it in my hotel. Exactly a year. I came, I saw, then I had to send the outlet managers that, okay, go see. I had to send multiple peoples to be able to convince them that, okay, come on, this is what it is. And as soon as my general manager came in, he just kind of paved the path for me. He said, go ahead. What's stopping you? If you don't get leaders, and he says, come on, let's not look at numbers. Let's see how we can grow them, what we can do for them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Till that doesn't come, he says, 40 se kya hoga? 80 karo tum. So when the general manager says that 80, I need 80 people who are differently abled, then what happens? Then your department leaders, they also think that, okay, this is a mandate I have to do. And certain things, it's like a mandate that you need to put on to people to be able to get it done. Right? Because I was on a task force, I'm on deputation to another Accord hotel, and you wouldn't believe it was so difficult. I saw only two of them. I said, in a staff strength of so many, you just have two people. So the HR head there told me, नहीं पॉलमी नहीं होता, इतना ही बहुत है इधर, ये दूर है, ये मेन सिटी नहीं है, इधर नहीं होगा, इतना ही होगा. I said, क्यों नहीं होगा? You guys give accommodation, you guys do everything possible, बल्कि और better होगा. क्यों नहीं होगा? Right? And then it was so difficult. But did they change? No. Because the leader there was not very keen. He says, हाँ ठीक है, चल रहा है. That's not my core business. My core business is something else. So that vision needs to come from the leader. And not everyone thinks equally. The biggest taboo, I have a friend, and this friend of mine is very upset about the fact that her child is got autism. If I ever talk about her to my friend, her face kind of changes her color. That spark and glow that was there so far in the conversation, the moment I take her name, she kind of takes like, there's a wall ahead of her. Right now, as parents, if you cannot accept, how do you think as employers someone will be able to accept? You will, because that comes naturally, but not with everyone. Like, I'll tell you, when I came in, so there was no separate meeting with them. Right? Then I started doing those. Then my new general manager came, he says, okay, I want to meet them every month. Okay. Now, after doing 4 months, he saw it's the same kind of things they have to say. Very similar. We worked on them. Then we said, okay, we will do it alternate months. Right? Then we started that. We started getting an interpreter for every meeting and every gathering, so that they don't feel left out. And these kids are so fond of hearing, if you're talking something, they want constant interpretation. They want. See, in a car, I remember there was a time when we were coming to Sarthak with a couple of them for a photo shoot that we wanted to do. We were creating a film with them. And when we were doing this, there were 4 others in the car with me. And one out of them had a mobility challenge. Okay. So she was also there in the car and I was talking to her. We had the interpreter also. You wouldn't believe, while we were talking, they were like waiting to hear. And the interpreter had to constantly go on interpreting. They have more, stress of, they have more FOMO. And this is what came up in all the initial forums that I did with them. And I understood they want to be in everything. So now we started taking them in everything possible. Right? And that kind of has made them so eager. I'll give a simple example. I send this birthday messages every day in the morning. First thing, I wake up and everyone says, oh, 5 baje matlab madam ka message aayega. So 5 o'clock, everyone gets birthdays of the day message with photographs. Okay. I send it in so many groups. The most active group is this group where all my DNI guys are. We call them heroes. My heroes are the real heroes and the sheroes. They're the first one you wouldn't believe, who literally starts wishing everyone in whichever group, wherever they'll meet, they will go and wish. They're so enthusiastic. Again, if we as leaders can't get out of that stigma, and again, like I said, there has to be certain mandates. Only then we'll be able to push it. So 2%, 3% से कुछ नहीं होता है.
Yes. Very well, rightly put, that top-down approach is very much required. And it's a very positive thing to note that earlier disability was considered a taboo. Now people are more towards using the positive language. Like Nitin has initially shared that the program is named as Udbhav. You have mentioned about artist. So now we are looking forward to a positive language, because once we start using positive language, knowingly, we unknowingly, our unconscious adopts that approach, that positivity lies there. Otherwise, earlier it was looked at that as that taboo. So we were also carrying that thing inside us, how to go about it, how to talk. This is not something normal, and this is like very, very challenging to do. So we are moving
You
into.
can still share that.
Yeah.
Sorry. In fact, when I remember initially during our annual days, we have a week of celebration, right? Especially happens in the month of September. So in this week of celebration, we divide the entire hotel teams into houses. So they were also in their houses, but they came and they told me the first year of mine here, they said, no one includes us and we don't get a chance to perform. So I said, okay, the first year I got all of them together into one of my team members. She taught them a dance and, they did a dance. The next year onwards, I said, no, that's not going to happen. I said, they're all in their own houses and they are going to perform along with everyone else. So then the other houses, the captains, they came, "Arey madam, nahi ho payega." I said, bilkul hoga, give it a try. And now they're doing it beautifully. It's about the mindset, the paradigm shift in the process of our mindset, our thought process.
Yes. Thank you, Paulami. Again, you are very vocal and are very truly sharing your gist of your last 15, 14 years of work in this area. I'll come back to you, Nitin, with the next question. That see, career growth is often shaped by things that don't appear in a formal JD, like how visible you are, your type of work, how you are mentoring, how you are networking, learning opportunities you are getting, and being recommended for the next role. All these dynamics work within the workplace. So, how can organizations make sure that employees with disabilities also get equal access to those invisible career building opportunities? Or can managers consciously build this into their talent and succession conversations?
Yeah. So I was listening to everyone even. So the familiar challenge which I can see for this, PWD is a stigma that everyone that they have shared from their way. But if we talk about in our company, like in a Vishal Mega Mart, so if you see that numbers and the growth, because now in the retail industry, we've been struggling a lot of in the front line of the attrition challenges, right? So attrition is a major challenges at the down the line even. But if we talk about in terms of the category that we are having in Udbho, which I called you earlier, even its program it is, so it's a very less. So Udbho, if I would say that's very less means it's a very less like we have around if we talk about in overall attrition, it is somehow that's 90% less than that even. So the reason why we are saying this with the attrition purpose, they have a desire to work. They are not getting the opportunity as the other peoples are getting from the other company even. So only we as organizations having the platform to develop them basically, right? So in our the culture, the things what exactly that we have a program systems, we have been not focusing on only to hire the candidates. We have a certain programs which they can develop themselves for the next level itself. If we even the current scenario for the entire number, we have a 20% role who's been working in the store leadership. Yes, there may be challenges and the difficulties when we are going to get them trained for the specialty that we have as a team, right? So we have been working on it, and we as a regional HR, we as a HR business partner have to visit once we are in our stores. So our certain responsibilities to also to recognize their performance, and whether we talk about performance, they are very good in that as per your normal and regular associates and the regular team members which they are working, right? So yes, there's a stigma, but there's in a positive way also. And if we talk about in the current scenario with all the store managers or the area managers or the whoever the business leaders there in the stores or in the region, I never get any kind of negative feedback about their work culture. There were there are any roles and responsibility. Yes, might be they are punctual just because of this timing and issues and all. But yes, what the productivity and the outcomes they are coming in their existing role, it is larger than the your regular employees, right? So major focus, yes, the training part is very challenges, but I hope if we have to focus on these training areas for the existing and the regular employees, how to deal, such kind of employment or such kind of employees to grow in that next level. And in this, store manager is a very critical, role. We can say who is the main pillar to develop them, right? So I hope being as a store leader, we need to ensure all the store managers get them trained, and they have also to understand how they can develop, for all such kind of employees who's been working as an entry level job. Yes, I'm very aligned with the Deepak what he mentioned. Like we only focusing having this entry level jobs. Why not the other managerial positions or the other senior leadership profile they are having? So we need to think about it. I think we need to work on these areas as well, right? So we should have certain JDs or the certain challenges, maybe the certain things how we need to make them balance for the next role and responsibilities. So we have to work on these areas, being as a retail leaders even. But yes, in the internal programs, we have all the things like where we can develop them for the next roles and the responsibilities there, and which helps all to develop and the attrition challenges there in the store.
Thank you, Nitin, for your thoughts on this. Very rightly said that training is the key. Through training, we can prepare PWD workforce to move on the next level, as well as the rest of the colleagues or supervisors or subordinates to work in a very cohesive manner rather than thinking that some they have to now overwork or something like that. With exposure only, they'll develop that. Everyone will develop that
Yeah.
comfort level. It's unless and until we focus also. It's not like either numbers or growth. It's like both will go hand in hand. We have to keep on increasing the numbers. We have to keep on thinking how to move, let them grow and move to other levels, and then gradually everything will take its form and shape. As Ravi and Polami and Deepak were also sharing that initially we have to start, we'll face struggles, people are not aware, but once they'll start working together, gradually everyone will develop that comfort and everything will start moving in a smooth tone. As we are coming towards the close, we are left with 8 minutes. So I want to make this very practical and a quick takeaway that all our listeners can take them with them. So we have organizations listening that are already hiring persons with disability, and we also have organizations that may be at the beginning of their journey. They have just started or are thinking to hire persons with disability. But if we look at the next level of maturity, what is the one thing that organizations should start doing differently if they want to move from disability hiring to building genuine careers for persons with disability? You have rightly shared, Nitin, training. But again, I would just like you all to give one word or quick example how to go about it. So we'll start with you, Ravi. What's your take on this?
You mean with respect to training or just at an overall?
Overall, what all one can do. I was just mentioning that Nitin has mentioned training. Are
Yeah.
there some other aspects that we can look into?
No, I think first and foremost, if there is an organization that is starting off, I think the organization needs to define why we are doing this. Is it just a trend that we're trying to emulate within the industry, or are we truly trying to make a difference for the community at large? Right. Uh, when faced with retention issues, I'm sure all of us are facing that. A couple of things that I've seen working is that most of the managers end up looking at our differently abled colleagues as just another resource. They fail to realize the difference that they're making in their lives, right? So at times in we also capture the moments from the employee and their family as to what it means for them, and we show it to managers at different events. We've seen them realize, and also put up their hand and say, "Okay, we will do more." Right? But I think any organization starting off needs to first put down why. Why are we doing this?
Thanks, Ravi. And in a sense, I think, or rather, I feel you have rightly said that they should define why, but why doesn't matter. Because there is a psychological theory of mere exposure effect, which clearly states that once we are exposed to something, gradually you will develop liking towards that. And that fear sort of goes away. So once we are into hiring, let the intent be just clicking some photos and throwing a positive image. But once we are into it, gradually we'll develop that comfort and gradually that will be the natural course of action. So for us, NGOs like Sarthak, we look forward to every opportunity as a positive opportunity. Let it be the intent sitting in the corporate set, whatever it is. And we in generally assume that it would be a positive one because they are taking that initial step. So every
Yes.
start is a good start.
No, I think you guys play a lot of pivotal role in guiding the organizations on how to embark on this journey and continue on this journey.
Yeah.
I think your support really helps.
Thank you. Deepak, what's your take on this? What one thing organizations should start doing differently if they want to move from disability hiring to building genuine careers for persons with disability?
So first and the foremost, which Ravi sir has rightly mentioned, we need to identify the why. That what are the key pointers which we want to drive from this initiative. Another one is we need to figure it out the opportunities where we can take them, and where these guys can grow actually. Apart from it, we need to be have a short roadmap for them, that how they will get trained, what are the opportunities they can grasp, and uh, inside the organization, what are the rules which is a low hanging fruit for them. We need to have a short uh, roadmap for them basically.
Thank you, Deepak. Pallavi, what's your quick input on this aspect?
Sorry. Okay. Going ahead, it's very important. Again, I come back to my same point that, till we don't start hiring the right way, it shouldn't be that you only hire them at the entry level, right? And not just look at a few disabilities, but expand our horizon to understand what are the different abilities. I would say special abilities, not disability. But how can we make that work and start thinking differently? Right? This girl who cannot see, I said, no one ever thought that someone can be working in a busy place to receive 5,000 calls in a day. In that place, you can have someone who cannot hear, who cannot speak, who cannot see. We never thought, no one thought, but we made it happen. Same way, why can you not have someone who is a manager? Right. In fact, I had been to another, that was the other side where guests had some physical challenges and they were looking at hospitality places, restaurants, hotels with the differently structured places. So, and they were all HIG kind of guests, right? And Zomato had made this beautiful conference happen where the guests had come and the organizations, hotels, and restaurant chains had been there to understand what is their need and how can we fit in and make that work, right? So that was fantastic. But then I don't know whether to what extent we can actually implement in a restaurant. But I think overall in a hotel or in a retail space, see, these guys are working. So they're also growing, they're also working. So if someone has worked for 5 years as an associate level, entry level, okay, chalo, I'm giving them 2 years extra other than the normal, 2 to 3. I'm saying 5 years as an associate entry level. Now this person moves on to the next level after 5 years in a new organization. Why not give that chance? Right? Why do you have to say, nahi, wahan kar pa raha hai, yahan nahi kar payega? Why not? You have to have that mindset open. That's all. And again, build a curriculum and a program for them so that they can themselves grow in the same organization.
Yeah.
And I think, like Nitin mentioned, that their retention is very good. It's the same in my organization also. Very little time pass they do, right? And a lot of retention.
Yeah.
So we need to, capitalize on that, build on that, and get them to work in different positions in areas where you can't imagine them. See, do job rotation and grow them and create a program, make a PDP for them that you
Yeah.
do this, and then you grow. I think that should help.
Yeah, very rightly said. Thank you so much, Pallavi. I think um, everyone is sharing the same thing, and today's conversation has highlighted something very important, that disability inclusion conversation is evolving. For all of us, for many of our organization, the question is no longer simply can we hire persons with disability. It is like how do we make that inclusion deeper, more sustainable, and more meaningful for the organization, for the PWD workforce, because hiring is the beginning, and real inclusion is what happens afterwards, and ultimately whether they can build a career. A very big thank you to Mr. Nitin Mishra, Ms. Paulami Bhattacharya, Mr. Deepak, Mr. Ravi Shankar Venkata Basavaraju for bringing your experiences and perspectives to this conversation. And thank you to everyone who joined us. I hope you'll leave today not just with an idea about disability inclusion, but with one action that you can take to inclusion a little more meaningful, a little more sustainable in your organizations. You all champions are already doing this. I hope somebody who is listening to us is getting some insight how to go about it. So this is our DEI Dialogue 2026 Series 3, and we'll come with more such series every month. Thank you so much. Have a good day. It's been nice having you all.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Nisha. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.